the 1900s. In less than a century, they have become the icon of planet. From routers to traffic lights, it is like invading species, killing off fuel. All examples of this brilliant invention. Now this might seem a bit drastic, but isn't it? For example, when the clock struck 12 on December 31st, 1999, our world could have fell back into the Stone Ages when these reliable machines failed. How can we let such a stranger into our daily lives without knowing who they are? What really is a computer? The answer will lead us on a 200-year-old journey into the unknown. Come with me as I travel to the past to see our true lives. As we reach our destination, our journey through time, we come across three men huddled in a small room, staring at the future of humanity. This is where it all started. The three men were the founding fathers of all electronics today. William Shockley, John Bardeen, and finally Walter Hauser Bradley. What they were staring at was something amazing. It was the transistor. A transistor is the key component that makes every single electronic device run. So they're basically switches. If you apply small current, then you close the circuits and you allow electricity to flow through the wires. If there's no electricity being applied, then current can't flow through.
I'm coming.
So let's get a wider and clearer picture. Okay? To understand the importance of a transistor, we have to go down to its atomic size. See all those particles flying around? So those are electrons. And it's the movement of electrons through conductors that make up electricity. If the electrons are moving from atom to atom, then we have an electric current. If they're not, then there's no current. So let's take a wider look to see it in action. In a transistor, there are three main elements. The first is silicon, and that is a semiconductor. What that means is that it can allow the flow of electrons, but the electrons can't flow through the silicon as easy as they can flow from metals. It is the main element of the transistor. So it makes up the core elements. The next type of element is called boron. This element has one less electron than silicon. So now there's a hole where an extra electron can fit in and fill in the space. And finally, we have phosphorus. This element has one more electron than silicon. So right now we have a single slab of silicon, right? And that is the whole transistor. So all these are elements, phosphorus and boron. We're going to get into detail later. But a transistor can never rely on silicon alone. It requires something called doping to make it work. Doping is when you apply a foreign material to boost performance. So in transistors, it's when you apply small quantities of phosphorus and boron atoms. However, when you dope the transistor with phosphorus, you have to dope there, right in the middle of the transistor. And then you dope the two ends with boron. So when you do that, the extra electrons from the phosphorus will now move to take into the empty slot in the boron. So now the boron atoms have one more electron, the same amount of electrons that silicon has. Electrons are negatively charged, so the doping with boron is now negatively charged. Since the boron now has more negatively charged electrons, we call this type of doping as N-type. N for negative. Similarly, we have something called P-type, and that is the doping with phosphorus. Because the phosphorus atoms now have one less electron because they had given it to the boron atoms, they are now more positive than before, making them seem positive, right? They have one less electron. So that's why the doping with phosphorus is called P-type. P for positive. When we dope the transistor, we create something known as a depletion layer. This is a layer where the electrons from the phosphorus have moved to the boron. So now the boron atoms are negatively charged. Since they both possess the same charge, the electrons can't go through the boron atoms, so it gets repelled. So since they both possess the same charge, they repel each other and they can never touch the other side. So that's why when we have no current, the transistor will be in the off states. To actually overcome the depletion layer, we have to introduce a small charge past the two n-type materials, known as the base. When we do that, we'll also introduce a small positive charge at the base. So the two charges, the negative charge of the depletion layer and the positive charge of the base currents, will cancel each other out. And the electrons from the n-type can finally flow through the transistor while effectively completing the circuits. So how can a simple flick of a switch make a computer? Simple. It forms the basis of logic gates. Look down, not on your phones, but on your sheets, because what I've handed out are the basis of all logical computation. These sheets are the most valuable things that anyone can dream of, because the currency of the universe is knowledge. So how you may ask, do switches do math, draw circles on a screen? We're getting there. But first, let's set some ground rules. Okay, first rule. Electricity is the movements of electrons, okay? So they don't have to be in a closed loop circuit for it to run. In fact, the electrons may never return back to its power source after it has been released. Second rule. When there's a slit in the wire, electrons will try to go both ways. Some will go left and some will go right, but they will also decrease their voltage. And finally, electrons will try to go from the highest voltage to the lowest voltage. That is why in a closed loop circuit, electrons will travel back to the other side of the battery. On the other side, the current is weakened. However, most of the time, it will travel to the ground. Okay. So to skim the surface, logic gates are the essential components that makes a computer compute. Computers understand and use a two-base numerical system called binary, which basically means that the switches, they have to turn the wires on or off, right? That's because they can only work with electricity. So if it's on, then there's yes current, off, no current. If we go into the atomic scale, we'll see these switches turning wires on or off, changing numerical values that can do math in binary. It's really that simple. Okay. So we're at the end of our journey. So before I end, I'll leave you with this. Computers are incredibly fast, accurate, but stupid. Humans are incredibly slow, inaccurate, but brilliant. Together, they are powerful beyond imagination. Albert Einstein. Because it's not the computer that makes it brilliant, but us, humans, that drives the wheel, but never pushing the gas pedal. Thank you.